I have a confession to make to start us off today.
Oh boy, let's hear it.
Yeah, I have spent an embarrassing amount of time this week trying to analyze a single text message.
We have all been there.
Right. But the worst part is it wasn't even a text message. It was a lack of a text message.
Ah, the silent treatment, or the perceived silent treatment.
Exactly. I'm just sitting there staring at the screen, literally replaying the last three conversations I had with this person.
Like a forensic accountant.
Yes. Looking for the missing variable. I'm thinking, oh, did I offend them? Are they just busy? Is this some kind of weird power play? Did they drop their phone in a lake?
And it is completely exhausting, isn't it?
It's beyond exhausting. And I know everyone listening right now knows exactly what this feels like.
Oh, absolutely. It's the worst kind of exhaustion because it's entirely internal. You're basically burning calories on a treadmill that isn't even plugged in.
That is exactly what it feels like. We turn into these amateur detectives trying to decode the weather of other people's moods, I guess you could call it.
Because we think if we can just figure out why they're acting weird, we can fix it.
Right. Or at least we can predict what they're going to do next so we don't get blindsided or hurt.
And it's a very natural, very human instinct. We crave predictability because, well, predictability feels safe.
It does. But the source material we are deep diving into today argues that we are actually going about this entirely backward.
Completely backward. We're trying to predict the stock market by staring at a single trader who hasn't had their morning coffee yet.
It was a guaranteed losing strategy. So today we're doing a deep dive into this fascinating concept called structural clarity.
Yeah.
We're looking at a text titled Predicting the Outcome of Others by Aligning Your Own Actions with Your Desired Result. And I will be honest,
Go ahead.
when I first read that title, my immediate thought was, okay, great, another fluffy self-help guide on how to manifest your dreams by thinking positive thoughts.
But it is not that at all.
Not even close. It is actually extremely mechanical.
It's almost engineering-based, really. The premise of this text is bold. It flat out says you cannot control other people, which, logically, we all know.
Right, but we still try.
We do. But the text argues that prediction shouldn't be about guessing their psychology. It should be about establishing your own stability.
That phrase from the text guessing psychology, that just jumped out at me. That is exactly what I was doing with that text message. I was trying to mind read.
And the fundamental problem with guessing psychology is that you're trying to build a foundation on quicksand.
Because people change every 5 minutes.
Exactly. If your sense of safety relies on predicting someone else's emotional state, which is fluid, it's hormonal, it's reactive, often totally irrational, you will never actually feel safe.
You're just reacting to variables that are completely out of your hands.
So the alternative the source presents is this structural clarity.
Before we get into the actual how-to of that, can we define it? Because it does sound a bit, I don't know, abstract.
Sure, think of it like architecture. If you're standing out in an open field and a storm rolls in, you have to constantly guess where the wind is coming from so you can brace yourself right.
Yeah, shifting your weight around constantly.
That is guessing psychology. Structural clarity, on the other hand, is building a stone house. You don't know what the wind is going to do?
But you know exactly what the house will do.
Precisely. The house won't move.
So in this metaphor, I am the house.
Your standards are the house. The source suggests that instead of analyzing the other person to death, you clarify your desired outcome first.
You ask yourself, what dynamic do I actually want here?
Yes. And then you align your behavior with that outcome so strictly, so precisely, that any incompatible dynamics just naturally fall away.
Okay, see, incompatible dynamics naturally fall away sounds very elegant on paper.
But in practice,
In practice, that sounds terrifying. Because falling away usually means people getting angry or people actually leaving your life.
it absolutely does mean that. And that is where the rubber meets the road with this text. This is not a strategy for keeping everybody happy.
It's a strategy for revealing the truth.
Exactly. The core mechanic the text uses here is an if-then framework. If you want stability, respect, and peace in your life, then your behavior, your structure, must consistently signal boundaries and emotional regulation.
Let's try to make this real for the listeners
Mm.
because I definitely struggle with the application part of this.
It's hard.
It is. The source gives a few really specific examples of how this aligned behavior acts as a filter. And the first one just punched me right in the gut.
The over-explaining one.
Yes, the overexplaining. This is such a classic behavior for anyone who struggles with people-pleasing,
But just a lot of people.
including me. I'm squarely the target audience here. Let's say I miss a deadline at work, or I have to cancel dinner with a friend.
What's your instinct?
My instinct is definitely not just to say, I can't make it. My instinct is to draft a 3-paragraph text explaining the traffic, my headache, how stressed out I am, and apologizing at least 6 times.
Because you feel like you have to do that to soften the blow?
Yeah, I'm trying to manage their reaction before they even have one.
But let's look at that through the lens of structural clarity. Why are you writing those 3 paragraphs? What are you actually doing?
Well, I don't want them to think I'm a jerk. I want them to understand that I'm basically a good person who just messed up.
So you are seeking permission.
Ooh.
You're asking them to validate your boundary for you.
Mm-hmm.
The source argues that over-explaining actively signals insecurity.
It signals that I don't believe my no is valid on its own merit.
Exactly. So if you apply the structural clarity method to this situation, what does the text say you should do?
It says I should just say, I can't make it. Sorry.
You say, I won't be able to make it tonight. Let's reschedule for next week. Full stop. You completely remove the padding.
Honestly, that makes my palms sweat. Just thinking about hitting send on that. It feels so cold.
It feels cold to you because you are used to the warmth of being overly accommodating.
That's a good point.
But here's the filter part that the text talks about. When you stop over-explaining what actually happens.
I just assume they get mad at me.
Maybe. But the source points out something really crucial here. It says, if you stop over-explaining, people who relied on your insecurity will push back.
Right. Because there are people in your life, could be bosses, friends, romantic partners, who actually benefit from your insecurity.
They love it. They like that you feel guilty because guilt makes you easier to manipulate.
It makes me negotiate my own boundaries so they don't have to.
Exactly. So by over-explaining, you're essentially handing them a lever to control you.
And if I stop explaining, I grease the lever. They can't grab it anymore.
Yes. Now think about how a healthy person reacts to that short text. They just say, bummer, okay, see you next week.
But the person who relies on that power dynamic,
They will spiral. They'll text back saying, you're being really distant, or are you mad at me? Don't you care about this friendship?
and what's wild is that the text says that reaction isn't a failure of communication.
It is data. It is pure data. That is the prediction coming true.
You didn't predict it by analyzing their childhood trauma.
No, you predicted it by stabilizing your own behavior. You acted with self-respect, and they simply couldn't handle the structure of the house.
Okay, I want to look at the next example the source gives because it's kind of the flip side of over-explaining. It's about passivity.
Oh, this one is huge, especially in workplace dynamics.
Right. The text talks about people who benefit from your passivity. Let's say I'm the person who always volunteers to take notes in the meeting.
Or you always clean up the break room.
Or I'm the one staying late to fix the group project. And I tell myself, I'm just being helpful. I am a team player.
But deep down, you're resentful as hell.
Oh, totally. You're just waiting for someone to finally notice and thank you, or for someone else to finally step up and do the work.
And they never do.
Never.
And the text explains why. Because you have created a structure where they don't have to. You are functioning as a load-bearing wall for their laziness.
A load-bearing wall. That is exactly it. So
Yeah.
structural clarity here would mean what? Just stop.
You stop. You stop fixing the project that isn't yours. You stop cleaning the break room if it's not in your job description. You just set the boundary calmly.
And then the chaos starts.
The resistance starts. And this right here is where most people fold.
Because you stop doing the extra work, your boss gets annoyed, a coworker makes a snide
You
comment.
immediately think, oh no, I did it wrong. I'm causing trouble.
I'm being difficult.
But the source says absolutely not. The resistance is the entire point.
Because if they benefited from your passivity, they have to resist when you become active.
They are losing a free resource. Of course they're going to push back.
So you have to interpret that resistance not as, I messed up, but as, there it is. That's the real dynamic being revealed.
It totally flicks the script.
Yeah.
It changes your internal focus from, oh no, they're mad at me, to, oh, isn't that interesting? They were actually using me.
It turns the emotional volume down and the analytical volume up.
Precisely.
Speaking of volume, let's move to the third filter the text covers.
Yeah.
Emotional regulation. I think this is the one that is hardest in close personal relationships.
Without a doubt.
The source says, if you become emotionally regulated, chaotic dynamics lose intensity.
This goes back to the idea of fuel. A fire simply cannot burn without oxygen.
In a relationship, a chaotic argument, like the kind where you're screaming, bringing up stuff from 5 years ago, slamming doors, that fire needs 2 people.
It absolutely requires your reaction to sustain itself.
But sometimes, and I think a lot of listeners will relate to this, It feels like if I don't react, I'm letting them win.
Like you're being a doormat.
Yeah. If they're yelling and I'm just sitting there taking deep breaths, aren't I just taking it?
The source makes a really massive distinction here between passivity and regulation.
Passivity is fear. You're afraid to speak up.
Exactly. Regulation is control. You are actively choosing not to escalate. The source points out that a lot of chaotic people actually use emotion as a weapon.
They explode specifically to get you flustered.
Because when you're flustered, what do?
I'll agree to pretty much anything just to make the yelling stop.
Correct. It is a shock and awe tactic. So if you apply structural clarity, you decide beforehand, I do not engage with yelling.
The house does not move.
The house does not move. The next time they explode, you stay completely calm. You do not match their chaotic energy.
You just say something like, I can see you're upset, but I can't talk to you when you're yelling. Let's talk in an hour.
And you walk away.
And they will probably completely lose their minds.
They will likely escalate, yes, because their go-to tool isn't working anymore.
It's like trying to hammer a nail and the hammer suddenly turns into a feather.
You'd swing harder. But if you hold that line, if you stay regulated, eventually that incentive structure just collapses.
They realize that screaming no longer buys them the control they want.
And that is when you get to see who they really are beneath the tactics.
Which brings us perfectly to the reading the room section of the deep dive today.
This is where it gets really practical.
The source gives us a specific checklist of 4 reactions you will see when you start acting with structural clarity.
When you stabilize, people will do one of 4 things. They will adapt, escalate, withdraw, or stabilize.
Let's break those down. Adapt seems like the dream scenario.
It is. You set a boundary and they say, cool, got it, I'll adjust.
And the text notes that this happens way more often than we think it will.
We are often so afraid to set boundaries because we just assume everyone around us is either incredibly fragile or secretly malicious.
But healthy people actually like boundaries. It makes the rules of the relationship clear.
Exactly. Now, the second reaction, escalate, is the hammer swinger we were just talking about.
Right. And seeing that escalation tells you clearly that the relationship was based on your submission.
Yes. But the third reaction is the one that I think scares people the most.
Withdraw.
Right. The source actually frames this as a successful outcome, but emotionally it feels like abandonment.
It does. You think, if I set a standard and they leave, well, now I'm just alone.
This is the hardest hurdle to get over. We are social creatures. We are biologically wired to avoid rejection.
But look at the logic the source lays out. If someone withdraws from you because you demanded basic respect, or because you stopped doing their work for them,
What were they actually attached to?
they were attached to the version of me that was easy to use.
They were attached to your lack of structure. If you build a solid house and they decide to leave because they preferred the open field, they were never looking for shelter.
They're looking for something else entirely.
The source really pushes us to reframe withdrawal, not as a personal loss, but as a filtering out.
It's the trash taking itself out, basically. It saves you time.
It is incredibly efficient, but yes, it hurts.
It hurts in the short term.
But think about the alternative. The alternative is spending years, maybe decades, in a relationship where you have to constantly suppress your own needs just to keep them in the room with you.
That sounds like a slow death.
It is. Which leaves us with the fourth reaction on the checklist. Stabilize.
This one really surprised me. The idea that sometimes we are the ones introducing the chaos.
Oh, absolutely. We can be inconsistent, moody, passive-aggressive.
And when we finally stabilize, when we become clear and predictable, the people around us can finally relax.
They stop walking on eggshells because we stopped scattering eggshells all over the floor.
The text uses this phrase that I really loved. The relational field reorganizes.
It sounds a bit sci-fi, but it's a great concept.
I think of it like one of those mobiles that hangs above a baby's crib.
Yes, perfect analogy. All the pieces are balanced by counterweights.
If you shift your position, if you become heavier, more grounded, more stable,
Every single other piece on that mobile has to move. They literally cannot stay in the exact same position relative to you.
because the physics of the relationship have changed. So I don't even have to force them to move.
No coercion required at all. You change your gravity and they naturally shift.
Some might fly off the mobile entirely, some might come closer to you.
But the key is you stop trying to push them into place with your hands.
Which leads right into the final big concept from the source, congruence.
This is the ultimate goal of structural clarity.
The text defines congruence as where your internal values match your external experience.
And this is the true antidote to the exhaustion we were talking about at the very beginning of the show.
That detective exhaustion.
Exactly. That anxiety usually stems from the gap between what we say we value and what we actually tolerate in our lives.
Oh, that's so true. Like saying to yourself, I really value honesty, but then you're dating a compulsive liar just because he's charming.
Right. That gap between your value and your tolerance is exactly where the pain lives.
So congruence is just closing that gap.
It's drawing a line in the sand. It's saying, I value honesty, therefore I simply do not tolerate lies. Period.
The text actually gives 3 specific steps to achieve this congruence. Step 1 is straightforward. Define what congruence looks like for you.
Just knowing what you actually want and what your values are.
Right. But step 2 is where it gets interesting. It says, behave as if that standard already applies.
This is a tricky concept for a lot of people. It sounds a bit like fake it till you make it, but it is much deeper than that.
It's about embodiment, right? What's the difference between faking it and embodiment?
Faking it is putting on a show. It's acting confident while secretly hoping nobody notices that you're actually terrified.
Okay.
Embodiment is acting based on a rule that you have fully accepted as law.
Give me an example of that.
If you truly believe you deserve to be paid well for your freelance work, you don't ask for a paycheck apologetically.
You don't say, hey, if it's not too much trouble, could you maybe pay me?
Exactly. You just send the invoice. You
Yeah.
behave as if the standard of being paid on time is already a real, established fact.
You don't wait for the other person to give you permission to be treated well. You just treat yourself well and see if they step up to match it.
Yes. You alone set the price of admission to your life.
And that leads to step 3. Observe who aligns without coercion. That phrase, without coercion, is really sticking with me.
It's vital.
Because I realize just how much energy I spend trying to actively convince people to treat me better.
We all do it.
Please just listen to me. Why did you do that to me? Can you just be nice for once?
That right there is the definition of coercion. You are basically trying to manually override their internal operating system.
And it never really works long term, does it?
Never. Because if you have to beg someone for respect, it is not actually respect, it's just compliance.
And compliance wears off the exact second you stop begging.
Correct. The source wants you to find the people who align with your values naturally.
The people who, when you act with self-respect, just respond with respect, because that's their native language too.
But, and this is a big but, the source adds a major warning label to this whole process.
The messy middle.
The messy middle. The text says, this doesn't happen instantly, but it happens reliably.
When you first start doing this, when you stop over-explaining, when you start enforcing consequences, your life is going to get very weird for a month or 2.
The mobile is spinning wildly.
Yes. People are mad at you, your coworkers are confused, you probably feel incredibly guilty all the time.
And this is the exact moment where most people quit. They look around and say, this structural clarity thing isn't working, everyone hates me now.
But the source is promising that if you just hold the line,
if you let the spinning stop on its own,
the new configuration will be stable, it happens reliably, like cause and effect.
It reminds me of that one powerful quote from toward the end of the text.
Oh, read it. I know the one you mean.
It says, the most desired outcome is rarely achieved by controlling others. It is achieved by embodying the standard that makes the outcome inevitable.
Inevitable. I love the weight of that word.
It completely shifts the paradigm. It implies that you are creating a trajectory.
Like getting on a train.
Right. If I get on a train heading north, it is inevitable that I will eventually end up in the north.
If I embody a standard of absolute respect, it is inevitable that my life will eventually be filled with respect.
Because you will have systematically filtered out everything and everyone else.
Even if that means the train car is completely empty for the first few stops.
Even then. Better to sit in an empty car for a while than to ride in one filled with people who are actively picking your pockets.
That is a very fair point. So brought this whole deep dive back to where we started today, that utter exhaustion of the detective work.
The beauty of structural clarity is that you can finally hand in your detective badge.
You get to retire from the agency. You stop asking, why are they doing this to me?
And you start asking, what does my own standard require me to do in response to this?
It's so much less about what are they thinking and entirely about what am I allowing.
Yes. It shifts the entire locus of control right back to you. You cannot control the weather, but you can build a solid house.
And once the house is built, you can stop obsessing over the daily forecast.
It's incredibly empowering.
It is.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie to you, it sounds like a lot of really hard work.
It is.
Honestly, it sounds way harder than just complaining about the annoying people in my life.
Well, it is harder in the beginning. Complaining is very easy. True change is very hard.
Right.
But complaining is a mortgage you pay forever. Structural clarity is a renovation you pay for once, and then you get to actually live in the house.
Oh, I love that. A renovation you pay for once.
Exactly.
Well, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave the listener with a thought from the source that honestly just messed with my head all week.
I know exactly the one you're talking about. It is the ultimate mirror.
It really is. The source
Yeah.
asks the reader, if you feel like the people around you are completely unpredictable,
If you feel like you are constantly walking on eggshells in your own life,
is it possible that the chaos isn't actually coming from them? Is it possible that the chaos you see is actually just a reflection of your own inconsistent standards?
because if you are a totally different person on Monday than you are on Tuesday,
If you enforce strict boundaries one day, and then you're a total doormat the next day.
you are the chaos generator.
And here is the provocation I want everyone listening to take into your week. If you stabilized tomorrow, if you woke up and became completely consistent, calm, and firm in your values, who would be the very first person to leave your life?
And the really tough follow-up question, are you purposefully keeping yourself unstable just to keep them around?
Oof, that is going to sit with me for a while.
It's the question that changes everything once you answer it honestly.
Well, thank you for diving into this with us. I think I'm going to go delete that draft email now.
Good luck with the renovation.
See you next time on The Deep Dive.